It's August 26th. I really need to get food plots planted. If I would have had the good conditions for it, I would have done it last weekend. Really wanted to do it this weekend, but the forecast was showing a little bit of rain. Actually today it was showing 3/10. We were supposed to get a little yesterday, which we didn't, but no rain beyond that. So you know, it doesn't, to me, now that we're pretty dry as it is, there's some moisture in the ground, but we're pretty dry to plant and then have, you know, 7 to 10 days of no rain. I was going to wait another week, but got up this morning and they've kind of changed the forecast around. Instead of 3/10, they're saying an inch. Still no rain beyond that, but, you know, I'm kind of hoping that maybe the weatherman is wrong one of those days this week. So I'm not going to plant everything, but I'm going to plant some stuff here on the home farm. I've got all my equipment here. I can conveniently do it. If I didn't plant one more thing here at the home farm, I would still feel pretty good about having, you know, a good supply of food for the deer, but it would be clover and beans, which I could broadcast rye and radish into later. And I am going to do that, but I don't really have to plant, you know, a green plot, but I'm going to do it. It behooves me to have as much to offer the deer as possible, especially here at the home farm. I'm competing with neighbors that, you know, they manage for deer. They plant food plots. They, you know, do a lot of the same things I'm doing, and I know they're keeping their food plots you know, very lush and full and attractive to the deer, so I have to have mine that way too. Got a potential booner that we're looking at here, and you know, I could plant something. I could have something in my plot that that he prefers and can't get it elsewhere. So we're going to plant and see what we can do. Next weekend would be fine to plant too, and that's probably when I'm going to have to do the Blackwater River Farm. But I may go there this afternoon and spray just light glyphosate spray on some stuff just to keep ahead of the weeds. But that's what we're doing today. Well, I didn't get any footage from the tractor because it rained on me the whole time, and I thought about stopping, but I didn't. And we actually worked up pretty good, and I mowed the weeds down to the top of my clover, which I think that's going to help. Got all that done. Worked up the ground. My weather's telling me up to an inch today. I don't know by looking at the radar, but I'm going to go ahead and take a chance and throw some seed down. Let's see, I don't have the bag. I threw in some beans, but some soybeans I had from last year. If they germinate, they do. If they don't, they don't. But it's peas, beans, and oats. And I think there's a little small percentage of brassica mixed in there. It's August 27th. Out here at the Blackwater River Farm today. Do some food plot prep, some spraying and mowing, and just, I'm not going to plant. I'm just going to give it one more week. It doesn't look like any rain in the forecast. I did plant the home farm yesterday. Didn't get footage of it because I was actually disking, and most of my day working on that food plot, it rained on me. And a couple of times it almost seemed like, I should stop, but I kept going. The ground actually worked pretty good. I got all the, you know, all the seed covered and packed, and then it even got a little bit more rain. So I think that food plot's got probably a better than 50% chance to make it. So feel pretty good about that one. I don't think it's a good idea to plant here yet, but I can do some prep. And I'd really like to get my tractor up here, but it's just not practical, and I didn't have the ramps to get it on the trailer here. But I brought this whole rig today, side by side, the harrow and the mower. So I've been keeping up with the weeds on that half that I want to mow, so I'm hoping I can just, you know, chop things up, drag it once, kind of get some of the debris off, and then when I come back next week, it'll be even closer to ready. But that's the plan. Okay, I mowed this off. Anything that was left green I sprayed, but it's pretty clean plot here to start with. I'll be back next weekend to plant this in greens. The other half of the plot, yes, it's a weedy mess, but there's actually quite a bit of clover in there, so I think it's still somewhat of an attraction. And then next year, I think we'll get it established where the weeds won't be able to take over. I'm sure we'll have to do a spraying. But this side's clean. The stand I moved in a previous video is right there. Wanted to incorporate a mock scrape right there. 15 yards from that stand, I could shoot there without even standing up. Cell cam on this one. I got 2 new cell cams for this year. Caught them on sale. I have 2 here and 2 at the home farm, but the other one's over there on that mineral lick where I got pictures of the big bucks from earlier. But I'll eventually move that one and put it on the south end of the farm, try to catch bucks, you know, catch their movement, figure out what they're doing coming from that direction. But this scrape, you know, I'm really curious to see how soon they start hitting it. And if the big bucks will use it. I think they will. It's September 4th on the Blackwater River farm today. I'm going to go ahead and plant this food plot, although the forecast doesn't look good. They're saying a tenth or 2 tomorrow, and then nothing again for, you know, another week, although it is going to cool off a little bit. But it's getting to the point where it's, you know, getting pretty late to be planting food plots and doing all this work on a farm that I'm going to try to sneak in and shoot a big buck this fall. So I'm going to go ahead and plant. Hope I kind of get lucky with the weather a little bit. The plot I planted at the home farm doesn't look good. It rained the day I planted it, and then nothing since. Went and checked it out yesterday. Looks like some beans or maybe some peas trying to emerge in some of the, like a lower lying area that maybe had a little extra moisture in the ground, but the rest of it looks like it's going to be a failure. You know, I'm going to give it, you know, another 5 or 7 days until right before this next rain. I'm going to look at doing a replant and, you know, go from there. It's home farm. I can do that conveniently and you know, pick my moments to do that. So that's the plan. Plant the Blackwater River farm today. Home farm hopefully again next weekend, which is going to be just days before opening day. I don't have a hunting plan in place yet, so not going to hit it too hard early unless I know a buck's in there. You know, I get a pick. I mean, you know, daylight or close to daylight, I may go in and try to get after one of these good bucks, but that's the plan, and we'll go from there. All right, well, there it is behind me. It's pretty, I mean, the preparation has been done. It's nice and clean, and I think even with the harrow, you know, I'm not going to have to disc this, but I think we can get good seed to soil contact and have a good plot here. We just need the rain. But anyway, I'm going to have to go around and pick up some of these bigger chunks of wood. This is supposed to be a half an acre, but I really think it's more. I think it's closer to 3/4 of an acre. But long term, you know, I think I want to keep that end of it clover, and then this part that I'm getting ready to plant here, kind of do it in a rotation of grains, or I don't know if that was a tick or what. Rotation of grains, greens, that type of stuff. And I'm actually planning on adding a whole, you know, another half acre to an acre. This WRP, I'm allowed 5% in food plots. So I've got a whole nother, you know, acre that I could plant. Problem is, to have a food plot, you got to get a skid steer in here. This 3/4 of an acre here was all timber when I bought this place, and this was the most logical place for a food plot as far as access, and an area that's not going to flood, because a big part of this farm will just flood on you, and having a food plot would be a risky adventure in some of those areas. But I think I want to continue on that way with the food plot. You know, maybe not expand this one, but, you know, go another 50, 100 yards that way and create another one. All that behind me there is probably 60% of it's nice and brushy, and it gives me a barrier between here and town, but it's mostly invasives. So if I'm going to carve out a plot somewhere, that's the spot to do it. I would say it's a good 5 to 7 acres behind me there that's pretty much just all invasives: autumn olive, bush honeysuckle, Bradford pears, you know, all that type of stuff. And I've cut some trails and roads through it to try to encourage some deer usage, and you know, maybe some new growth, something that the deer can benefit from. And I know they do spend time in there, because I've been getting pictures of this doe and twin fawns coming from that direction. So I'm going to get after this plot. Okay, this is the view from the far end. Kind of give you an idea of the size, you know, with the side by side down there, a little perspective. But got a good clean area to plant here. A little bit of green showing through, but looks pretty good. All right, there it is. Looks pretty good, pretty clean. I had to stop the harrow quite a bit and just kind of remove the thatch and sticks. And like I said, this was all 4 to 6 inch, well, 2 to 4 to 6 inch trees. I mean, it was timber. A lot of invasives, brush. So there was a lot of root remains and sticks and things, but it's getting cleaned up pretty good, and I could almost come in here with a disc and not tear up too much. But I think that camera right there probably got a lot of pictures of me doing this. The other cell camera is over there. That's the camera we got pictures of Walter. I'm going to move it. There's no sense in having 2 cameras right beside each other, and that one's on mineral. So as the fall progresses, it'll get less and less action. Didn't bring a cultipacker, but I've got one on 4 wheels, so I'm gonna drive this thing around and around and around until I get it pretty well packed down and call it good. Hope for rain. It's all seeded and packed in. Hopefully I'm not back here until it's time to hunt this. Scrape right there, camera, deer stand, weedy clover, mineral. I'm going to, that's a cell camera, going to move it to the southern part of the farm to try and, you know, maybe catch a buck coming on or leaving the farm and just try to figure something out. Ideally, it'd be nice to see him coming in and then, you know, close to daylight, and then be able to plan a hunt with the right wind and get in here to try to kill him. I know that's asking a lot of these trail cameras, but we're going to set it up for that scenario, and you know, we're going to get in here and hunt this under the right conditions, whether we've got recent intel of that buck or not. Just on the chance, it's worth a lot of sits no seeing deer just for one chance at Walter. So that's how we're going to approach it. Got this planted. Going to check a couple cameras that I can get to without getting into this bedding. I absolutely am not going in there. I got a couple cameras back there that I'll just check when I hunt those areas. But gonna do that real quick and get out of here. Okay, moving that cell camera down here to the southern part of the farm freed up another camera to set up on the stand site here, which is it's along the Blackwater River, is just there. It's really low right now, but that stand is to hunt this movement along the river, cruising bucks and such. It's also a little pinch point here, breaking the levee, and then quite a bit of tracks. Generally there's a hole of water there, but it's dried up. A lot of deer tracks, but the deer want to travel right through here. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, cut that bent over maple out of there to make it a little easier of a trail, and I think I'm going to create a little mock scrape right here. It's not really too late in the game. September 4th, I'm going to go for it. Camera's right there, stand is right there, and I'm going to try to get this done before the mosquitoes carry me off. Okay, it's September 12th. We are 3 days away from opening day of archery season here in Missouri, and I just slipped up here to the food plot to give it one last check and sort of finalize this. I've been videoing this fiasco trying to get food plots planted for the last 3 weeks, but I think we've got it finalized, and gonna have some food plots that are gonna be pretty darn good. I don't really like being in here. I'd say it's highly likely that there's maybe a couple does or a fawn bedded behind that switchgrass over there, but I'm gonna slip in here. There's a couple cameras there, and then down in that far corner. I can check those without much disturbance. Check out the clover, looking pretty good. So this is the part I was worried about. This beans, peas, oats. I added beans myself. Actually, quite a few of them germinated, but a little bit of everything has come up. Quite a few peas. And it gets even better as we head up that way. I didn't really plan it this way, but I've got this food plot is in the shape of a capital B, backwards B, Dewey pointed out. But the clover really took in the middle, and it was kind of weak around the outsides. And then when they did the last spray on these beans, whatever it was, Liberty or Roundup, they torched this edge along the beans. So I had bare dirt exposed and good seed bed, you know. So I went over it with the disc and broadcast in a sort of a homemade mix of, well, it was a bag mix. It's got some wheat and rye, a little bit of brassica, oats, and I mixed in some beans. But it's looking pretty good. We got beans are really taking off over there. Yeah, that looks good. We just got what is that? But anyway, this food plot looks pretty good. It's got greens around the middle, greens around the outside, clover in the middle, in the shape of a backwards B. Switchgrass, 7-8 foot switchgrass, not surrounding it, but snakes around it on two sides. And then I've got 2 acres of what's going to be standing beans, and man, they look good. This edge has been browsed pretty heavily, but a lot of bean pods. It's going to be a lot of winter food here. And I would say here in the next week, as these they're starting to brown down in a few spots. But as they start browning down, I'm gonna broadcast a mix of radish and some other brassica. It's mostly radish, and maybe some wheat or rye. And I will have 2.5, close to 3 acres of really good fall and winter food plot. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. This stuff sat no rain 2 weeks, and it still germinated. There must have been just enough moisture in the ground, and we still need more rain, but we got that slow half-inch last night, and this is going to explode now. Dewy mornings. We'll have a good plot here. So anyway, that's it on food plots. Hopefully any videos that follow this one with whitetail dimension are going to be hunting videos, or you know, all the things that go along with that. So there's a stand actually here on the corner, inside corner of this food plot, that I had a nice buck daylighting last year. So if I have reason to believe, called him Ace. Never saw him again after October 30th, and I don't think he's one of the bucks I've been watching here in Velvet. But I guess point being is, if I think there's a buck daylighting in here early season, I'm going to come in and try to kill him. So yeah, the Blackwater River Farm is, I feel really good about it. Planted it in dust, basically. There was a little bit of moisture in the ground, but it only sat for 4 or 5 days, and then it got this, you know, they may have even got more over there. It's good 27 miles from the home farm, the Blackwater River Farm is, so they could have gotten a little more, but they got the same rain that we did, so it there was a little bit more moisture there in the ground, and with that nice all day slow half-inch, that should all germinate and be a good plot. Got some more rain in the forecast, so hopefully we're getting into more of a wetter fall weather pattern, and these plots are going to be, I think we're sitting in good shape on food plots.